Today, I'm going to teach you 7 ways to maximize every minute that you invest into your reselling business. Coming up.
Won't nobody check those body treatments for your neck. All they really wanna do is go and cash the check. Won't nobody love you until you love yours. You could be swimming in money.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I have 7 productivity hacks to help you make sure that you are using every second wisely that you're putting back into your reselling business. This is something that I've had to learn throughout the few months that I've been reselling because I am a mom to 2 kids and a high school choir teacher. So time is not something that I have a lot of. So let's jump right into the 7 productivity hacks. So my first productivity hack for you is to separate your tasks into 2 categories, one that requires a large chunk of your time and one that requires a smaller chunk of time. So for me, and it might look different for you, but under my category of large chunks of time, I have things like sharing my Poshmark closet. I have over 600 active listings, so that takes about 25 minutes. It's things like getting all of my shipping done. Depending on how many items I have to ship out that day, it can take anywhere from 5, but sometimes up to like an hour, or 5 minutes to an hour of my time. It's things like sending offers to likers. I like to do that once a day, but if you're someone that likes to do it once a week or once a month, that's gonna take a large chunk of your time. Things like steaming my inventory, taking pictures of my inventory. I like to make sure that I have at least an hour or 2 to do that because I don't want to just take a picture of like 2 things or steam like 5 things. It just seems like a waste of time to me. So I like to make sure that I have a large chunk of time to do that. And finally, doing things like my inventory. When I have a lot of items that I've accumulated, that I've taken pictures of, that I've steamed already, I like to put aside an hour or 2 of my time to put those things in their inventory bags and put them in their bins. And I don't want to only do a couple pieces at a time because then I don't get into my groove. If you would like to see how I do my inventory system, it is pretty simple. Drop a comment down below so that maybe that's a video that I can do sometime in the future. In my category of things that only require small chunks of time are things like listing. I can knock out one listing in 5 minutes or something. So if I have 5 minutes here and there, maybe I'll just list 1 or 2 things. It's things like checking my notifications on my Poshmark app. Even if I have like 80 new notifications, it's really quick to just scroll through, see what things I need to address really quickly. But typically it's just seeing that people have shared my items or that I have new followers. Another thing that I can do, even if I only have a short amount of time, is share other people's closets. Even if I'm only sharing like 1 or 2 people's closets, that's still something that hopefully will bring more traffic to my closet later. I can also follow other people. I can cross-list items from my Poshmark closet to Mercari. So by figuring out what types of tasks fall under the 2 categories, it helps me because if I have a random hour or 2 of time, I know that that's not the time for me to sit there and share people's closets. I know that because I have an hour or 2, I better do something that I can only do with a large chunk of time. So that would be my first productivity hack, is just figure out for yourself what things fall under those 2 categories. So now that you have your 2 categories and you know what types of tasks fall under the 2 categories, my second productivity hack is to know when those times are. Some people have built into their schedules hours or minutes of time, right? So for me, I have a solid like half hour every day that I'm at school for my lunch. I have a 50-minute lunch period, but I take about 20-25 minutes to eat, and I know I have 25 minutes of undisturbed time, and that's when I share my closet every day. Perhaps for you, it is your children's nap time every day. Maybe it is when you're waiting in the school parking lot because you're waiting to pick your kids up and you know you have an uninterrupted 20 minutes. So whatever time it is that you have, you can kind of create a non-negotiable time. This is when I'm going to share my closet, or this is when I'm going to steam and photograph my clothes. So kind of figure out when you have, especially those large chunks of time, so that you can plan ahead and know when you're going to do some of those important things. For me also, like I know this sounds so dumb, but like going from my office to the bathroom, it's like a 2-minute walk. So I will always take my phone with me, and as I'm walking to the bathroom, I will share other people's closets, or I will check my notifications. I'll do something so that even though it's only 2 minutes, I'm still being productive with those 2 minutes of time. And in my head, I always have a running idea of the different kinds of things that I can do so that when I have 5 minutes here and there, maybe it's the passing period from one class to the next, maybe it's walking to my car after I'm done with work, I already know what I'm gonna be doing in that 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and that helps me utilize and maximize every spare minute that I do have. So my third tip is, now that you know what tasks fall under the 2 categories, and now that you know when you have large chunks of time and when you have small chunks of time, now you have to prioritize. What are the most important things that need to get done that day? So even though you may have a concrete 2 hours every day in your schedule where you can get stuff done, those 2 hours may not be spent the same way on any given day. So for me today, for example, I know that in my Poshmark room, that's where like I keep all my clothes and stuff, it's also the kids' playroom, but we'll talk about that on another day. I know that I have a pile of clothes that I have steamed and I've taken pictures of, and now I need to put them in my inventory system. So for me, for today, if I find an hour of time, that's what I'm gonna do, is I'm going to go up there and do my inventory so that all of those clothes are organized and I can find them easily when people buy them. That's also something that I know, even though it's a top priority, I know that that's something that I can do at night because I don't need good lighting for that. For me, whenever I have an hour or two during the day when, for whatever reason, the kids aren't home or they're asleep or something like that, the first thing I always do is take pictures because I know that I need good daylight to do that. At this time, I don't have a good lighting kit or anything like that, and I always use natural daylight. So if I have an hour or two during the day, the first thing that I do is like run to all of my clothes, make sure that I can get stuff hung up to steam and take pictures of, because that's the best use of my time during the day. That's not the best time for me to take inventory or share my closet because I need to utilize the daylight that I have. So if all I have is a small chunk of time, I need to know how I'm going to maximize that time as well by prioritizing. So perhaps I haven't been able to check my notifications all day. If I have a 5-minute, I'm in line at the grocery store or something, during that 5 minutes, I'm going to look at my notifications, even though I could share, even though I could just follow other closets, but I'm going to look at my notifications and make sure that I'm not missing anything super important. Maybe someone's made an offer on an item and I want to make sure that I can accept the item or accept the offer or counter offer and do those things in a timely manner. Maybe someone's asked me a question about an item, so I want to make sure that I get to those things, and that's going to take priority over following other people or what have you. There's a lot of other things I can do with small chunks of time, but by keeping a running list in my head of what things need to get done first, that's how I can also make sure that I'm being super productive and maximizing every minute. My fourth productivity hack for you is to utilize a concept called batch working. First, I will tell you a little bit about batch working by telling you what it isn't. So the process that you have to go through to get a piece of clothing listed on Poshmark, it might look anything like this. You go to the thrift store, you pick something up, you take it home, you steam it, you take pictures of it, and then finally you hopefully also take measurements of the item and list it. If you went through each listing in that order for one item at a time, you're not going to be super productive. You're not going to get a lot done at once. And instead, the idea of batch working is that you're going to take one component of something that you have to do and focus on that for an amount of time. So for example, and I think that this is something that everyone does anyway with thrifting, for example, you don't go thrifting just to find one article of clothing. You go thrifting, you spend an hour there, 2 hours there, and you get as much as you can and you bring it home. But this is where perhaps people are not utilizing batch working as much as they could. So for me, what I do is I try to do the same task for a long period of time. So something as simple as like popping tags off of your thrifted items, that might not seem like it takes a lot of time, but if you've thrifted 100 items, going through each article of clothing and popping the tags off of them and just doing that one task for all 100 items, that is something that might take 10-15 minutes of your time, but it's better to do it right then and there when you have like your scissors and you have your garbage can and you're just going through the clothes and you're popping them all at once, and all of a sudden you have all of your clothes ready to be steamed, ready to be photographed, and you don't have to go through and be like, oh, I forgot the tag on this one. So for me, I'll do something like that first, and then I'll go through and I'll steam everything, and that might take 30 minutes to an hour, and then I'll go through and I will photograph everything, and that's another concentrated 30 minutes to an hour. rather than steam one thing, hang it up, take a picture, steam this one. You're just not going to get as much done, and you're able to really focus and hone in on that one task if you utilize this concept of batch working. It works better for some tasks than others. So for me, like I said, for steaming and taking pictures, I absolutely make sure that I've got that 2 hours, and I'm gonna steam everything at once, photograph everything at once. I'm kind of in the zone. I'm not gonna make dumb errors like forgetting to take measurements or something like that, but I'm in the zone and I get a lot done. I'm super productive. I know a lot of resellers also will utilize batch working when it comes to listing, but that's something that I really can just kind of do 1 or 2 listings here, 1 or 2 listings there. But if it works for you to sit down and make sure that you have an hour of time to just do your listings, do that. So it's just kind of figuring out what works for you, but definitely finding moments where you can utilize batch working. I think it's gonna help you get a lot more done in a shorter amount of time. My 5th productivity hack is to be focused. And I know that that is kind of a given. It doesn't seem like a hack at all, but I want to provide some concrete tips as to how you can help that happen. For me, my best friend when I know I have an hour or 2 to get stuff done is that do not disturb button on my iPhone. I don't know if Android phones have anything that would be the do not disturb buttons equivalent, but if you have something like that, utilize it. And what the do not disturb button does is it does not show you any notifications that might pop up on Poshmark or Instagram, whatever might cause you to pull focus away from the task that you're doing at that moment. Especially when I'm like taking pictures of my items, for example, I'm taking pictures on my phone. And a lot of times what'll happen is I'm taking pictures, that banner will pop down that says, you have a new like on your item, or someone on Instagram has tagged you. And the next thing I know, I've wasted 30 minutes because I'm going through Instagram and I'm trying to see what's going on. And that's the last thing you want when you're trying to get a lot done in a short amount of time. So that do not disturb button, it should be your best friend. Any other things that you can do, just turning your phone on silent or just making sure that you don't have the TV on in the back. I don't know, whatever it takes for you to make sure that you're 100% focused on the task at hand, that's what you're gonna wanna do, and it's gonna be different for everybody. Productivity hack number 6 is something that I actually just learned how to do today. And that task is text shortcuts on the iPhone, or there's an app called Text Expander. And I actually just learned how to use the text shortcuts on the iPhone today. I think I had in my head the idea that it was a possibility, but I didn't know how to use it. So basically what you'll do is you'll go into your iPhone settings, go to General, and then click on Keyboard, and then there is a tab there that says Keyboard Shortcuts? I think it's shortcuts. And what it allows you to do is to have one word, and if you type in that word, so I chose the word, I just wrote DIS. And what that stands for me is if I type DIS, there is a block of text that I have programmed to just pop out when I write DIS. And that block of text, the DIS stands for discount. So it's something that I use when someone has liked 2 or more items in my Poshmark closet. Typically when someone likes 2 or more items, I'll go to their profile and I will create a bundle for them, and I will leave a comment saying, hey, I saw that you liked 2 or more of my items. I wanted to, send you an offer on all of those items together with discounted shipping. And to type all of that out, it doesn't seem like it's a huge deal. It probably takes like 30 seconds to a minute of my life. But when you're doing that over and over and over again, think about how many minutes that adds up to, right? So now, because I've programmed it in my keyboard shortcuts, I can go into their profile or create the bundle for them, and I just have to type DIS. Out pops that whole little spiel that I just told you, and it saves so much time. So I've created a shortcut for that. I've created a shortcut for when I am listing. I always end with like the same 3 sentences, and those sentences for me are things like, the item is in excellent use condition with no holes, rips, or stains. And then I talk about, measurements are included in the pictures. Please bundle to receive the greatest discount. And rather than, again, typing all of that out on my phone over and over and over again for every listing, those 30 seconds to minute, whatever, it adds up. And so I I'm trying to think of how I programmed that. I think I programmed it as the word item. So when I type the word item, automatically that little spiel will pop out, saving me lots and lots of time. And then I created one more keyboard shortcut, and that was for when anyone likes an item that is in my 4 for $25 sale. So rather than, again, going into the bundle and saying, hey, you liked an item that's part of the sale and blah, 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 here are the next things that you can do, I just wrote out my spiel. So now when I type in 4 for $25, that just pops out automatically, saving me a ton of time. So that's something that I would definitely utilize if you haven't been doing that already. If you have an iPhone, obviously that feature is free. And Text Expander, it does cost like $2.99, I believe, but it's an app that you can purchase for your phone. My final and probably most important productivity hack is to just be organized. And so some concrete tips that I have for you that would fall under that tip are things like have all of the supplies that you need on hand. The USPS app for your phone should be your best friend after the do not disturb button. And that's because you can go on the app or even just go on their website and you can order shipping boxes and shipping supplies, and they will be sent to your door for free. I know before I knew that that was a thing, I would go to the post office and like not steal because you can take it, but I would take as many of their boxes and, you know, mailing envelopes as I could in one trip. And I mean, I'd always get like the side eye from people, even though it's allowed. But the fact that I could get like packs of 10 to 25 to even 50 boxes sent straight to my home, that is a huge time saver. And I would, you know, make sure that I had them all organized so that when I was shipping things out, I knew where all my boxes were. Not only do I have all of my shipping supplies from USPS, but I have them all in a really nice shipping station in my Poshmark room. The things that I have laid out so that things are just ready to go are things like my Scotch tape, are things like tissue paper, because that's what I wrap all of my clothes in. It's things like what I use for my thank you cards. Everything is just right there within, you know, what is this? What am I trying to show? In arm's reach, that's what I'm trying to say. It's all right there, so I don't have to like keep getting up and moving around and trying to locate items. When I have to ship my items, I just sit there, everything's right there, and it's really easy because I'm organized. I'm not very organized in all other areas of my life, but I've learned that being organized with my shipping has saved on so much time. Another way that you can be organized is with creating some sort of inventory system. When I first started selling on Poshmark, I did not have an inventory system. I just had piles of clothing that would like eventually topple over because they were too tall. And when people bought stuff, I'd obviously be really happy, but there was also this sense of dread because I was like, oh my God, I have to find the item. Like, I have to find it in these piles of clothes. And honestly, there were days when I would be looking through these stacks of clothing for 30 minutes, an hour, because I did not know where the item was. So the moment that I finally sat down and created some sort of spreadsheet with an inventory system, now even if I've sold like 10, 15 items in one day, it only takes like 5 to 10 minutes to pull everything because I know exactly where it is. And again, if you want some insight as to a simple inventory system that you could create for yourself, go ahead and leave a comment down below because I think that would be a really fun video to do too. But yeah, just finding different ways to be organized so that you're not, you know, frantic when you're trying to put your shipments together and whatnot. That's gonna save you a lot of time and just stress. Like, you're not gonna be unnecessarily stressed out, which is always a good thing. So there you have it. Those are my 7 greatest productivity hacks to help you get more done in less time. I'm sure you all have great tips as well. So if you have anything else that I could learn from, please leave those in the comments below. If you liked what you saw and want to make sure that you don't miss any future videos from me, please make sure that you hit the red subscribe button down below. It's like right here. I think it's down here. So make sure that you click that button, and you can also follow me on Instagram where I'm sharing my daily journey as a reseller. My handle over there is Becky Park on Poshmark. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you next time. Bye!